Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? Let's talk comics and not so much the stories on these ones, but some peripheral things. Transformers 24 came out this week. I read it last night. It was a great ending to the last 2 years of that story written by Daniel Warren Johnson. More on him in a minute. Absolute Batman 12 came out, so that's the end of the first year there. And Absolute Superman number 11, which was a really good issue. Red Coat number 14, just so well done. And then what was the other one that I got? Oh, Captain America 3, this Global War on Terror version of Cap. It wasn't bad or anything. It didn't knock my socks off like the first two issues did, but I like where it's going. I'm going to do a full run kind of summary of the Transformers book that DWJ did. I didn't know what he was going on to next. I didn't really keep my ear to the ground on that side of the comic book news, but a friend of mine on Twitter put out clips from an article that I guess he's working on a story for Absolute Batman, which I thought, okay, it could be cool. But he's playing up this villain that he's writing, and I wasn't clear on who the villain was, but the clips from the article were emphasizing that Daniel Warren Johnson was going to go no holds barred on a very like thinly veiled metaphor for white nationalists. That Absolute Batman is going to fight white nationalism, and I just eye rolled super hard. Comics for the last year or two have been recovering from the heavily propagandized and politicized stint that they did for 10 years or so. And my admonition is just like don't go back to this. Don't walk backwards. Crowbar this crap in there. Like I said, I really loved Absolute Superman number 11, and it's clear that Jason Aaron, the writer, has left-leaning sympathies, especially when it comes to things like anti-corporatism and environmentalism. And there have been instances so far where he's leaned into the idea that Superman's an illegal immigrant and blah blah blah. Like, I recognize that those elements are there, but he is telling the story well. And first and foremost, that's what you've got to do. Like, one, don't bore me. Two, don't insult me. And treating me like I'm stupid and I can't see what you're doing is insulting. But like I'm aware of his sympathies and his tendencies, but he's not boring and he is telling a good story. After 2 years of Daniel Warren Johnson on Transformers, I'm confident that he too can tell a good story. It doesn't do you any favors to then go to the press and say, go read my Batman story coming up. It's an anti-white nationalism story. Like, if that's the true merit of your story, if that's what's going to make your book marketable, you've already missed. You've already failed. And it's especially egregious to do that after the first year of a series that has been really, really well done. And, with the exception of a hiccup around issue 4, which I've mentioned just about every time I've talked about Absolute Batman. The way that issue 12 concluded, Bruce finds out that Bane went after all of his friends, and if you don't remember, his friends are Waylon Jones, Harvey Dent, Oswald Cobblepot, and I'm forgetting one. Selena Kyle was in the mix. Edward Nygma. Bane does things to them that turns them all into Bruce's rogues gallery. It's grotesque, it's brutal, it's really intense, but the storytelling is there. This is probably the most horror-adjacent Batman story that I've read. Granted, I haven't read so many of them, but I'm recognizing that that's a key part of its DNA. This has been a really well-done series, and combining these two, the guy who wrote the last 2 years of Transformers and putting him on the last year of Absolute Batman, it seems like it could be just a home run. So don't do this. Don't go back to what comics were 5-10 years ago when the sales were crap, and the creators and the publishers were going to war with the consumers over ideology and over culture. A book just came out this week and then was immediately pulled and pulped because on the day that it released, that was also the day that Charlie Kirk was murdered. The writer, a individual named Gretchen, who was not born with that name, that's all I'm going to say. He decided to take a victory lap and just be vile about it on socials, and consequences came, and they came quickly. And not only did he get fired from DC, his book got pulled and pulped and canceled. And like I got to the end of it must have been Absolute Batman. I got to the end of that, or I flipped to the back of that, and I found advertisements and an interview and sample pages of this Red Hood comic, and it immediately got scrapped. You know, DC saying, like, yeah, we're not going to do this. Okay, cool. Keep your foot on the gas with this stuff. Keep comics as comics. Comics are not supposed to be some instrument for ideologues to bludgeon readers and consumers over the head. All right, start a Substack for that crap. We're here for the characters and the stories. And gosh, we should not walk backwards on any of this stuff. Obviously, I'm gonna stay subbed to Absolute Batman, and you know, we'll see what the landing and the execution on this story really is. And I'll talk more about Absolute Superman. Man, the Absolute version of Brainiac has been really cool, and having Superman go up against Ra's al Ghul was a twist that I didn't see coming. He's a Batman villain, but using him this way has just been, man. The people that I know who are reading the Absolute series have been kind of low on Superman, and yeah, I'm a Superman homer. I've got blind spots for him there, but I love what they've done with it over the last year. I just hope it stays good. Anyway, Redcoat especially, gosh, I'm gonna do a summary on that one because we're 14 issues in, which I think is 2 volumes, and this most recent issue is a prelude to, I think it's going to be a standalone story, or maybe it'll be like a 3-book arc, I don't know. But Ghost Machine has, for a couple of years now, had a title called First Ghost in its lineup, and in the Unknown War timeline, it takes place in the present day. And all it says is the first ghost is caught on camera at the White House. I'm like, oh, you know, wonder what that is. No, it's not first as in, like, this is the first time that we're seeing a ghost. It's first as in, like, this is the way that you would call, like, the president's family the first family, or the president's wife the first lady. I think the first ghost is George Washington, which is going to be awesome. Anyway. This is what comics should be. This is how it should feel. You should be excited about it. You should enjoy the stories and the characters and the artwork and all of that. Art it's not just escapism, it's elevation. It should be better than and largely separate from the day-to-day. Because if I'm going through the day-to-day of everything, why the hell would I go to the comic book shop and pay $4 or $5 for a title so I can sit there and read more of what I'm already going through? Why wouldn't I just save my money and do something else? So don't do this. Spend a couple of years climbing out of the hole, things got better. Don't walk backwards. Drive safe. See you out there.